Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Yay, 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 yay. Thank you, everybody, for coming to this memorial where we have the opportunity to celebrate and honor the lives of members of our community who've passed away in the last few months. We welcome residents of Taper. We welcome residents of JEK. We welcome staff, of course. And especially our hearts go out to family members, and we thank those of you family members who've come to give us a chance to support you. And also our hearts are lifted by having you here because we too miss your loved ones so much, and that's why we have this gathering. We're going to read on page 3, Shir Lamalot. In the middle of the page, you're welcome to join me. I will lift up my eyes unto the mountains. From whence shall my help come? My help comes from Adonai, who's made heaven and earth. God shall not suffer your foot to be moved. God that keeps you will not slumber. Behold, God that keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your keeper, your shade upon your right hand. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. Adonai shall keep you from all evil. God shall guard your soul. Adonai shall guard your going out and your coming out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Let's read responsively on page 4. At the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them.
At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them.
At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
At the shining of the sun and in the warmth of the winter, we remember them.
At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
At the beginning of the year and at its end, we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we have joy, we crave to share, we remember them.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them.
When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Okay, yeah. We're going now to turn our hearts to our loved ones, our members of our community who've passed away in the last few months. And before we do, I just want to call to mind a few people that we will remember at our next memorial, but who just passed very, very recently. First of all, Shirley Landau, who just passed last night. Esther Vines and Francine Kabolnik. Zichronam livracha, may their memory be a blessing. Hannah, we're so honored that you're here as we remember your amazing, amazing mother. And I wanted to begin with her because it was quite a bit ago that she passed, and she was a force in Taper, as were you. Do you want me to read some of your beautiful words, or do you want to read them? What's your preference? You want me to go ahead? Okay. All right. I'm going to just begin by mentioning that Rachel was born on May 27th, 1938, and passed away on March 18th. And Hannah wrote an incredible eulogy. I can't read all of it, but highlights include, when our mother left this dimension, she sprinkled bits of her soul across humanity. I've received 466 messages for her from around the world who fell in love with her. The spiritual qualities others spent a lifetime seeking came naturally to her. I discovered a rare woman filled with love for all human beings, and I found my love for her. On March 11, 2015, I moved my mother, along with Victoria and my sister Esther, moved my mother to the Jewish home. As I wheeled her through the grounds, she said, "I want to tell you, this place is beautiful, and you've done a wonderful job." She saw the mezuzah on her doorframe and pronounced, "I am Jewish." The rabbi came and said she was so present. "Mom, you never complain." And she answered, "What's the point? My mother, who could rightfully complain about everything, complained about nothing." Once we remove the clutter of ego, it's all spirit. My mother was a free spirit, and now she's unfettered to dance again. And Hannah is a published author, among other things, so her words are very poetic, and I want to call you up in a second, but I just want to say for myself, with the challenges that your mom faced, her incredible spirit and her incredible attitude, I mean, if she could have that, then any of us should, and all of us should. And I just want to say to you that I feel grateful to have known her. I think that she changed us and elevated us, and we were honored to have her live with us. So if you want to come up and say a word, you're more than welcome to, Hannah. No pressure. You want to do that?
Thank you. My mother demonstrated that there is nothing as whole as a broken heart. She was an extraordinary being with a special capacity to help others. My mother didn't just glimpse the nature of spirituality, she became one with it. She inspired others, including myself, with her beautiful heart. Her ability to love inspired me to create and to share the truth of her journey. I watched my mama embrace the final moment of liberation. I was with her, holding her hand when she took her last breath, and I will always be honored that she chose me to be there to witness that. This fall, I have received a grant for the Glendale Central Library. We are going to have an exhibition on my mother's life. So whoever would like to join and honor her, the library will close at 6 p.m. and then we'll have the exhibition. I'm going to screen a documentary I created on my mother. It's short. So that'll be September 23rd, 2023 at the Glendale Central Library. And I want to thank the Jewish Home. From the day that I was able to bring my mother here, my life changed and her life changed. There were so many people responsible for helping my mother. Katie Abelson, I'll never forget her, ever. She was with me every step of the way, and during COVID, when my mother was locked down, I insisted on seeing my mother through a gate, and Katie helped me facilitate that. So I want to thank everyone at the Jewish Home for everything they did for my mother. You changed the course of her life. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, and your presence has meant the world to us. Zichrona Livracha, may Rachel's memory be only a blessing, and what a beautiful way to memorialize her even further with the work that you're doing. Next, we call to mind Jerry Carroll. Jerry was born on September 20th, 1930. Oh, sorry. Is there anyone else who wanted to say a word about Rachel before we move on. Sandra, come on up.
Hi, I'm Sandra Valdovinos. I'm the activities team leader for Taper Building. I was also with her in the Factor Building, so we had a lot of fun memories. One of my fun memories is always, you cannot have Rachel without Olivia. You needed Olivia to be present. My favorite memory is singing with her Bésame Mucho. She really loved that song, so she's greatly missed, and may her memory be for blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Sandra. Anybody else? Okay, now we turn our hearts to JEK, and we're going to memorialize members of the JEK community first, and then Taper. We call to mind now Jerry Carroll, who was born on September 20th, 1930 in New York and passed away this last March 27th. Jerry served in the NYPD for 12 years. He was with his significant other Sheila for almost 40 years. He collected stamps and enjoyed singing along to music. Is there anyone who'd like to add a word about Jerry? Zichrono livracha, may his memory be a blessing. Hertz, next we call to mind your beloved Denise Alterman. Sarit, our heart goes with you and to all of the family. And Jordan and Mila, of course. Denise Alterman went by many names. Growing up, she was called Denny. Of course, her husband, Hertz, that we know also as Howard Alterman, gave her the Hebrew name Dina. Her daughter, Sarit, called her Mom. And her beloved granddaughter, Mila, called her Nana. All these names, Bat Ruth, is deeply missed by her family and friends. And there's so many wonderful words here, and we selected from them, but if you want to come up and add anything, you certainly can. Denise was born and raised in Hartford, Connecticut. She was proud of her 30-year career with the state Connecticut Department of Public Safety, formerly the Department of Public Health, Toxicology Division. She worked in evidence receiving, preparing the evidence for the chemists and for the court. She was discreet, honest, ethical, and hardworking. Denise was a strong woman who faced a debilitating heart condition in the prime of her life and a stroke that stole her speech, but she persevered for the sake of her family, continuing to work in order to provide. Her family wishes they could have had more time with her to make even more memories. They know what a miracle and a blessing it was to have had the time they did have together, and they will love her forever. Beautiful, beautiful words. Is there anything anyone from the family would like to add? Yes, come on up.
I'm Sarit, and I'll always be Dina's daughter and Howard's daughter. And I miss my mom so much every day. Sometimes it still doesn't feel real, and sometimes the reality of it just crashes over me like a wave like a riptide. It's hard to get out of. I'm so grateful that my mom lived with us for a little over 5 years after my dad was sick, and we moved my parents out here to California to be with us. I'm grateful that my husband said, "Of course your mom is gonna live with us." She needed my help, not to the same degree as my dad, and I'm glad that she was with us. I was pregnant with my daughter at the time, and so she has this amazing bond with Mila that will never die. she started to need more help. And in some ways it was a tough decision for her. And in some ways it wasn't, to come to the Los Angeles Jewish Home. My dad was already here. We were here visiting him all the time. And of course she wanted to be with her husband. She missed my dad so much. And I'm so, so grateful to the Jewish Home for getting her in, just like they did for my dad. It's like God is directly connected here, because exactly when we needed the home, they were here and available, and beds were available. And we already knew the food was good and the activities were fantastic and the spiritual life and the language were vibrant. And so it was really a home. I know you call it health now, but it's a home. And not only was it open, but my mom was able to move into the room with my dad and be with my dad 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so again, we were all together. We never expected things to happen as quickly as they did with my mom. And much like Hannah said, I also was chosen to be here, my mom and God, to be there. And I basically moved in into their room, and it was the three of us again, just like old times. And we were with my mom in those final moments. And that last week, she was very peaceful and calm and comfortable and quiet, just like her life. And she felt surrounded by love. In fact, one of the last things she had said was, "This right here, this is my family." And I just want to leave you with the last thought that, my mom didn't realize how many people she had affected, but so many people came to say what a wonderful person she was, what friendship she had offered. And I want you to know, I talk to her every day, and she knows that, and she is so grateful for all the love and the friendship and the peace around her. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you. And one last thing. I'm so sorry when you're feeling this way. It's so easy to just let things out of your mind. I want to give a heartfelt thank you to the staff also on the second floor who were so gentle with her and taking care of her. And I especially want to thank Isabel and Lori, who were there by her side from the time they met her, and 24 hours a day also to take care of us through everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarit, for your beautiful words and your dedication. Is there anybody else who wants to add a word about Denise? Zichronah livracha, may her memory be a blessing. Mary, we're going to remember Don now. Don Zeidler, incredible human being. He was born on December 11th, 1930 in Los Angeles. Also lived in France and Japan, where he was a teacher. He was married to our beloved Mary and was very close to his stepchildren, Wendy, Richard, and Brian, with whom he enjoyed family occasions. Don was an elementary school teacher for LAUSD for 35 years. He was a quiet, intellectual, smart man who enjoyed music and current events. Does anybody want to add words about Don? All right, so I'm going to read this eulogy from the family. On behalf of my brothers, Richard the gorgeous one and Brian the funny one, I'd like to share.
And passed away April 22nd. Parvis was born in Iran and attended college at Oklahoma State University and obtained a degree in industrial engineering. He worked as an aerospace engineer. He has one son, Payman. Parvis moved to Hawaii and eventually California after his divorce with his son. He enjoyed reading and listening to Persian music. Is there anyone else like to share something about Parviz? Zichrono livracha, may his memory be for a blessing.
Thank you. Next, we call to mind Eleanor Hirsch. Eleanor was born on February 24th, 1925 in Washington, Pennsylvania. She was married to Edgar for many years. They adopted 2 children, Jill and Jim, who passed away later in life. But she was very close with her friend's daughter, Jennifer, and considered her as close family. Is there anybody who'd like to say a word about Eleanor? So we received this beautiful email that goes like this. Dear Rabbi Bender, last week Stuart, Joan, and Nancy and I joined our dear family friend Jen on a FaceTime call to remember Ellie before internment of her ashes. During the call, we talked about Ellie's warmth and loving nature, her incredible her positivity despite a lifetime of losses in Eleanor's memory be a blessing. Jennifer also adds, thank you for holding Ellie in your heart. Next, we call to mind Arlene Deaver. Arlene was born on September 9th, 1927, here in Los Angeles. She had 3 children. She was a homemaker and raised 3 kids. She enjoyed watching TV and knitting. Would anyone like to say a word about Arlene? You know, some of our friends who arrive here, we don't have a chance to get to know them either because they're here for a very short time or because by the time they're here, they're no longer integrated into the community. But we still honor them and remember them, and we're honored to have them. With regard to Arlene, Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be a blessing.
We now turn our thoughts to Helene Kapell. She was born in Warsaw, Poland on February 3rd, 1927, and died May 9th, 2023. Helene was a Holocaust survivor and struggled with her vivid memories of the war. She and her mother escaped to Russia, and Helene always remembered the kindness of the Russian people she encountered. Helene married Jacob, and the 2 of them raised 2 children, Alicia and David. They later lived in New York and then Los Angeles. Helene worked as an insurance claims adjuster and loved her job. She enjoyed playing Scrabble and was an avid reader. Does anyone else have any memories of Helene to share? Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be for a blessing.
It was our honor to have Helene as part of our Holocaust survivor community, and was especially in our hearts on our Yom HaShoah commemorations, and will continue to be even now that she has passed.
We now turn our thoughts to Elaine Cohen. Elaine was born on February 27th, 1930 in Brooklyn, New York. She was a widow and had 3 surviving children, Merle, Jed, and Matthew. She would sell women's clothing and once entered a beauty pageant and won 2nd place. She enjoyed watching television, movies, and playing cards. Does anyone else have memories to share of Elaine Cohen? Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be for a blessing.
Did you want to say a word about Elaine? You're good? We're honored to have members of Oradell Bargeman's family with us. And Oradell was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana on October 16th, 1924. She was cared for by Scribble Hospice and passed away on May 14th, 23. She is survived by her daughter, Mabel. And we're honored to have Mabel and James with us. And I wanted to read some beautiful words. Thank you for sharing them. Oradell Bargeman was the kindest, most loving person I've ever known. She mothered everyone so much that my friends would often call her mom. She took this as a compliment and never shied away from being there for others who needed support in one way or another. As her daughter, I feel like I grew up with the most incredible role model who taught me to always be myself and always push myself to learn more. I will miss her smile, her laugh, her advice. Thank you for honoring her memory. Mabel, Adele's daughter. Our hearts are with you. Thank you so much for sharing the beautiful words and for being present. Does anybody else want to share a word about Adele? Zichrona livracha, may her memory be a blessing. Next, we call to mind Stephen Brody. Stephen was born on July 23rd, 1950 in Los Angeles. He served in the United States Navy, and following, he worked as a security guard. He had 3 sisters, Stephanie, Susan, and Ellie. He enjoyed winning at bingo and watching television. Does everybody remember Stephen? He was what my daughter would lovingly call a character. When I would see him, I would think of kind of a movie star. I don't know, there was just something about him. He carried this kind of coolness that almost reminded me of like a Jack Nicholson character. He was just cool. And I just loved seeing him around. A totally unique person. And I miss him already. Does anyone else want to share a word about Stephen? Zichrono livracha, may his memory be a blessing.
I can't see his face, but I know his name, and it just has a remarkable memory, and he must have been a wonderful person.
Thank you, he was. Thank you so much.
Our thoughts now turn to Charles Schwartz. Charles was born in Ohio on January 19, 1940, and moved with his family to North Hollywood, California after he graduated high school. Charles enlisted in the U.S. Navy, attended naval school at Hollywood and Key West, then worked on the destroyer Escort as a sonar technician. After his service, he worked with his father at his RV business. Charles volunteered as the commander of the Jewish War Veterans Group. He loved dogs, puzzles, collecting stamps and coins, and music. He was a talented musician and used to play saxophone in dance bands and orchestra, and sang tenor and alto. Does anyone have any memories to share of Charles Schwartz? Zichrono livracha, may his memory be for a blessing.
Next, we call to mind Jack Breskin. Jack was born on April 30th, 1934 in Los Angeles. He had 3 children, was a hairdresser, served in the Army. He liked to dress fashionably. He enjoyed watching sports, watching TV, and listening to music. And he lived many years in the Palm Springs area. Does anyone want to share a word about Jack? Zichrono livracha, may his memory be a blessing. Next, we call to mind Maxine Margolin. Maxine was born on December 21st, 1923 in Los Angeles. She was married to Marvin and worked as a costume maker at a movie studio. They had a daughter, Jan, and a son who died 20 years ago. She loved wearing her favorite black velvet hat and was seldom without it. And I want to share some words that were sent to us by Jan and Russell. They write, Maxine led a full and active life. She was born, raised, and lived her whole 99 years in LA. After graduating from Fairfax High School, she went to work at Western Costume Company, outfitter of the stars. She left there to become Rosie the Riveter at Lockheed. After the war, she married Marvin Margolin, her true love. They raised 2 children, daughters Jan and son Jimmy. As we said before, Jimmy unfortunately predeceased. She loved to travel, and she saw many parts of the world, including taking her immediate family on a cruise to Hawaii and on safari in Africa. Her stay at the LA Jewish Health was short, but the family greatly appreciates the love and support of the people who helped her. Zichrona livracha, may Maxine's memory be a blessing. Was there anyone else who wanted to add a word about Maxine? Okay. Next, we call to mind Greta Trenk. Greta was born on March 21st, 1932 in Czechoslovakia, survived World War II, and moved to Los Angeles in 1968. She was married to Zoltan and had a son, Joseph, and a daughter. She enjoyed celebrating the Jewish holidays, being outdoors, watching TV, and eating chocolate. Would anyone like to add a word about Greta? Zichrona livracha, may her memory be a blessing.
Our thoughts now turn to Lawrence Messenger. He was born in Los Angeles, California on April 6th, 1942. He was raised by both parents and has an older sister. He obtained a master's degree and was later worked as a high school teacher, teaching photography in the art department. He taught for 10 years and then worked as a school administrator. Larry was married and later divorced and raised 2 boys, Gabriel and Zachary. He was a longtime resident of LA Jewish Health, residing in the Weinberg Building for many years. Larry enjoyed watching sports and TV shows such as Let's Make a Deal, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy! Does anyone have any other memories to share about Larry? Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be for a blessing. Now we turn our thoughts to Richard Stern. Richard was born in Chicago, Illinois on July 17, 1931. He received a bachelor's degree in marketing from Florida State University. He later worked in the housing industry as a home builder, yet previously worked in a sawmill and men's clothing store. He and his wife Loretta were married for over 67 years and raised one son, Adrian. They enjoyed traveling the world together and later lived here together in JEK. Does anyone have any memories to share about Richard? Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be for a blessing. We now turn our thoughts to Gloria Wilson. Gloria was born on January 9th, 1935 in Chicago, Illinois. She was a purchasing representative. She is a widow and has a son, Todd, and a daughter, Jill. She enjoyed art, painting, reading, and watching television. Does anyone have any memories to share about Gloria? Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be for a blessing.
I knew Melvin Israel long before he came here, as his daughter Ellen was a member of my former congregation, even though you're my only congregation. But I did have a place where I served before this, and we even took an Israel trip together. I did the bar mitzvah of Mel's grandson, and this was an incredible family, and he was a great guy. He was born on April 14th, 1923 in Brooklyn, married to Beatrice and had 2 sons, Michael and Stuart. He worked as an accountant and enjoyed watching baseball games and listening to music. He lived until 100 years old. I misspoke. Ellen was his daughter-in-law, and Stuart, of course, was his son. And Stuart was with me in Israel also, and it was his children. Anyone have any additional words you want to share about Mel?
I do.
Go ahead.
He was on the 4th floor, and he was very hard of hearing. He had a hearing aid, but he didn't like to wear it. So when I wanted to ask him a question or I wanted to strike a conversation with him, I would have to write it on the board. But on an everyday basis, what happened was he was wheeling himself down the hall. He would see me, he would smile at me, and I would always throw him a kiss. I would go like this. And he would always say, "For me?" And then a big smile. So I would always remember him for that.
Thank you so much. Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be a blessing. We've now completed our memorializing of the JEK community. Is there anybody that wants to say anything in general about any of our JEK members who've passed? Okay, we turn our hearts now to the Taper community.
We turn our hearts to Martin Stewart Miller. He was born on December 27th, 1936, and he died March 31st, 2023. He went by Marty. He was married for 60 years. He was married by 60 years, and his family says that it was a great loss to lose him. Does anyone have any memories to share? Any other memories about Martin Stewart Miller?
Marty was a short-term resident in our Taper building. From what I know, he loves spending time with his wife and family. He also liked to be outdoors. He's greatly missed. May his memory be fabulous. Thank you.
Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be for a blessing.
Next, we call to mind two Holocaust survivors, actually, but we're going to begin with Rose Hadash, an incredible woman who was really beloved at the other campus at Eisenberg Village for years. And then we had the honor of having her over at Taper. She always had a smile on her face. Her family was so loving and supportive of her. I was really touched by that. Rose was born in Poland on April 16th, 1925, and passed away in 2023. And how she was able to have a smile on her face with everything she'd been through was always a wonder to me. Sandy wrote a beautiful eulogy for us, or a beautiful message, and I want to read it. My brother and I will not be able to attend the memorial service that you've planned. However, we'd like to have you read the following about our mother. Our mother, Rose Hadash, lived at Los Angeles Jewish Health for 9 years. And during those years prior to COVID were enjoyable years where she participated in the weekly Shabbat services, as well as the holiday services at the synagogue, the shul, where we accompanied her. She looked forward to the Sunday concerts, the outings, and the new friendships that she formed. It truly was a wonderful time where she was always looking at the board for the daily activities that she could participate in. Special thanks to the rabbis, Stacy, and the staff from both the Newman and the Taper Rehab Unit who went above and beyond to engage our mother in a most loving way as she navigated life's journey. It truly was a delightful third chapter of her life. With love and appreciation, Sandy Hadash Cohen and Bruce Hadash and families. I wanted to speak for one moment about this reference to making these friends. There's a tremendous, I know this is not the main point of our gathering, but I want to make this point. There's a tremendous amount of research that says that growing your circle of friends, meeting new friends as adults, actually increases the quality of your life, your mental health, and even your longevity. By the way, even at my age, a lot of people, they have those same couple of friends, they have the same conversations over and over. And one of the magic elements of being here, I think, is enviable that you have opportunities to make new friends. And I have seen best friendships evolve over the years that I've been here. It is so very touching. And Rose benefited from that and was a new friend and loving friend and made new friends. And I'm so glad that Sandy included that in her remarks. Does anybody want to add a word about Rose Hadash?
I knew Rose from the Newman building. One of the beautiful things is she had her walker, and the walker had a rose, so you couldn't miss it. Rose was a truly friend. Her friend moved to the Factor building, and she would go visit her. And beauty. She would always look forward to getting her hair done. And I was blessed to spend the last holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, with her. She would always be caring about her family. And Rose, I know I adopted her as my Rosita de Olivo, my olive rose. I know you're up in heaven having fun. And friend, thank you for everything, and may your memory be for a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you. Zichron Livracha, may her memory be a blessing. Next, we call to mind Catherine Schaefer, who everybody called Katie. I'll read a little bio and then share a couple of thoughts of my own. Catherine Schaefer was an amazing woman who both endured many difficult obstacles in her life as well as many joys. Catherine was a Holocaust survivor also and had to have her leg amputated later in life, but was still somehow able to overcome all of that intense drama, to be a kind, happy, and caring human being. Catherine married and raised 2 children, her daughter Arit and her son George. Catherine loved her family very much and would speak about her love for them often. Catherine enjoyed living at Los Angeles Jewish Health very much, had a special bond with her roommate here. The Taper staff enjoyed getting to know Catherine, and she is missed. I want to add, this is another family that I knew long before I came here. Her children, Irit and George, were incredibly devoted and were here all the time. Even the grandchildren often came. Katie volunteered at the other campus before she was a resident for us in the art department and was responsible for training many residents and herself creating knitted items that many people bought and wore and brought that artistry to us as a true gift. Her optimism was amazing, and she was just a real pillar here as part of our community and will greatly be missed. Does anyone want to add a word about Katie?
Katie was my roommate for the time that she was living here at the home. Her family came almost every day to see her, and she was a kind, wonderful woman who went through so many difficult things in her life. She was a Hitler prisoner, and that was the worst thing that she had. It couldn't be any worse than that. But she was a kind, thinking person. She loved America. She was happy to be here. And her children, her daughter and her son, 2 children, were there with her at the end. And the end took a long time every day. She was just a wonderful person. Everybody who met her loved her.
Thank you for your beautiful remarks. And I know you know this, but I want to say it. You were an incredible friend and roommate to Katie. She cherished you, and her daughter and son were really grateful for your presence in Katie's life. So thank you for what you gave to her, and thanks for your beautiful remarks.
Her daughter and her son both took care of me every time they came. They came with something. They talked to me. I was part of the family.
That's
and
right.
It was a wonderful family, and I miss them all.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry for your loss personally, too. Anyone else want to share a word about Katie?
We have a knitting and crocheting class in honor of Katie. At first, it was tomorrow, but I'm glad we started it. She taught me how to crochet, and I told her, just say a white lie. Say I'm doing it perfect, okay? And every day, even till the last, I went to show her how excited I was to make a blanket. And she told me, oh my God, you're doing so wonderful. And I said, how much do I owe you? She goes, nothing. You're doing such a wonderful job. So she is greatly missed. And one of the most beautiful things she was always giving, she made blankets for the pregnant women who were a misfortune, who didn't have, a warm blanket to give to their babies. So may her memory be forever. Thank you.
Any other words about Katie?
Katie gave up her time before she came here. She came to the Arts and Crafts and Jewish Home Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, crocheting and making blankets. She was very creative. She was a lovely woman, and I miss her.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for your loss as well. Those words really enhanced our memorializing. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to say a word about Katie? Yanni wants to? Go ahead.
Yes, Rabbi. Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's something really touching me, for all the residents also. But Katie have something really touch me. When I tried to say Baruch Atah Adonai, so she told me, Yanni, we're gonna practice every Friday, so I can improve my prayers and Shabbat. And it's really touched to me with all my residents. Okay, so I'm missing her. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks to all Tabor staff for taking such good care of her. Zichronah livracha, may her memory be a blessing.
Our thoughts now turn to Diana Curtis. Diana was born on December 19th, 1943. Diana was Catholic. Diana worked as a social worker. She came to LAJH initially for rehabilitative services, but ended up staying here as a long-term resident. Diana was a very sweet lady, and she is missed by the staff in the Taper building. Does anyone else have memories to share about Diana Curtis?
She loved music. We had a music therapy. So one day we were at the younger era, the Beach Boys, and we were trying to guess who was the name of the song. Everybody knew the melody, but they didn't know the name. And she was just quiet like this, head down, and she shouted the name. So we were all like, "Yay, we got a point! We're excited." She is greatly missed. May her memory be for a blessing. Thank you.
May her memory be for a blessing.
Next, we call to mind Sally Stromer, who I know is a great friend to so many of you. Sally was born on June 27, 1933, and passed away this last May 21st. She had two sons, Eric and Kurt. Sally was very involved with Los Angeles Jewish House and was on the resident council board. Sally made close friends here and was very close to her roommate. Sally enjoyed socializing and activities and had a great sense of humor and is missed by her friends and the Taper staff. Does anyone want to say a word about Sally? Elaine?
Sally was an exceptional person in every aspect. She was a wonderful friend. Her roommate, Frederica Miller, and she became so close, I think it was closer than sisters. And when Sally was ill, Frederica was down and sad. And when she passed, unfortunately, it took Freddie a while to come back to herself. Sally was exceptional in a number of ways. She and her husband had a dance studio and taught dance lessons. Then they became owners of art galleries around the world. And they traveled around the world and met some exceptional people, exceptional artists. She was a friend to us. She was a dear friend to me, and she was on our board. She had wonderful ideas for the home and for the future of activities and involvement for the people at Taper. The most exceptional thing about her is that she was a Christian, and she loved Judaism. She came to every service. She participated in every holiday. She adored the rabbi. She'd come to every session the rabbi taught for us. And frankly, I think if God were willing to let her live a few years longer, she may have converted. She was a gift. She was a gift to all of us. And we miss her and we talk about her almost every day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really eloquent.
Yes, she was our vice president of the resident council. I always joked around with her. I would used to go to her room and she would say, "Can you open this snack for me? Can you open that snack for me?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I found my perfect roommate. You have the best snacks here." She had a great sense of humor. She was a high-tech person. She loved to listen to audiobooks. She is great. And like Elaine said, she enjoyed anything related to Judaism. She is greatly missed, and may her memory be for a blessing. Thank you.
Sally was a wonderful lady. When she wasn't in activity, she liked to be in the iPad or doing puzzles, coloring, watching TV. She always was busy. She was very sweet inside and outside. We're gonna miss her.
Yes, when I first met Sally, it was at a concert, and she and I bonded right away on that day. She loved music, and I love music. I loved her voice. It was so kind. I don't think you could say an unkind word about her. God bless her. We'll all miss her, and I loved her. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really beautiful.
She left something wonderful for us. She has a very tall grandson who was recruited by Gonzaga University to play basketball. So we're watching the basketball games this coming year. He's going there starting in September.
That's great.
So it'll be her legacy to have this for her.
Thank you so much. Zichron Livracha, may her memory be a blessing.
Our thoughts now turn to Jason Levine. Jason was born on November 13th, 1935 in Utica, New York, and had a brother named Mike who recently passed away as well. Jason's daughter, Jennifer, lives out of state but did come to see her dad here at LAJH when able to make the trip. Jason worked as a journalist and loved to write. Jason liked to wear tie-dye shirts and enjoyed working on his computer when he was physically able to do so. He had a good sense of humor and is missed by the Taper staff. Does anyone have any memories to share about Jason Levine?
I did not know Jerry and Jason that well, but he had a sense of compassion. And when he smiled at you, you knew he was thinking of you. May he rest in peace.
Jason was one of the residents that he was always quiet, peaceful, but at the lunchtime he always liked to listen to dancing music, especially salsa in Spanish. So lunchtime was like a dancing floor. He loved to take pictures of us, of residents and flowers. We developed them and he gave it to us. He was such a nice guy. We're gonna miss him.
I always would joke around with Jason and say, Jason, if I have any problems with my computer, I'll come to you because he's a tech guy. He had a smile that would melt his heart. One day I was sitting with him and we were talking about parenthood and he said, oh, I did that and I don't miss it. Good luck to you. He also liked political. He used to watch the news and he used to say, I can't believe what's going on. And I hope we will have something better. So Jason, you're greatly missed and may your memory be for a blessing. Thank you.
Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be for a blessing.
Last, but certainly not least, we call to mind Wilhelmino Bulan. I received this message from Carolina. This is my message to my loving husband, Wilhelmino J. Bulan. Dearest Pa, I really miss you a lot. I could not describe the pain in my heart that you are not with us anymore, but I will always remember you. I will not forget our happy moments together. It is a blessing from dear God that you are my husband, a very loving husband, and a very good father and grandfather to our children and their families. I know you are now in a better place with dear God. We love you very, very much, Pa. I miss you so much. We will always pray for you, Pa. God bless you always, and may you rest in peace. With love from Ma and from our children and their families. Would anybody like to say a word about Wilhelmino?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Morning again, everybody. Yeah, Mr. Bulan, every morning I walk into his room and I knock the door. And one day, also caught my attention because I say, good morning, Mr. Bulan. He said, don't call me Mr. Bulan, call me Kuya. And I say, what does that mean? I'm going to be your big brother. And that's touching me. So every morning I say, good morning, I got to say Kuya every morning. So that means brother. So I remember Mr. Bulan.
I had a moment with him. I was part of his room rounds, and there was one time I walked in and I said, "Is everything okay with your room?" He says, "Yes, but I don't have any tequila." I said, "How can you not have tequila?" So we started the joke around. He loved spending time with his family. I'm so thankful that I was able to do the last Zoom call that he had with his wife before he passed away. He is greatly missed. May his memory be for a blessing.
Hi, my name is Ita. I'm one of the nurses in the Taper building. And I got to know Mr. Bulan. He's Filipino. He's one of our younger residents. He came from a different skilled nursing facility, but then requested to be transferred. And he had a very, very loving wife who was very attentive, very, very attentive, that sometimes we run away. She shows up, but then he would always say, not too much, not too much. He would always tell Carolina that, but Carolina was a very loving wife. I will always remember him because he loved sports, tennis, golf, baseball, football. We were able to talk about it. He was very, very active in the community until one time he was decorating, putting on Christmas lights, and then he fell, and that was how he got into the skilled nursing facility. But we will always remember him because he was very, very interactive. He was always carrying out a conversation, whatever the topic is. He will surely be missed by the Taper building, and I will surely miss him, and may his soul rest in peace.
Mr. Mulan, he always keep herself in the room, but for Father's Day, he likes to come outside, enjoy the music with the wives, Caroline, and he always had the TV on, like Sita said, in a sport. He was very friendly, and every time you talk to him, he always had something interesting to say. So we're gonna miss him.
Hi, good morning. Mr. Gulan, he was a lovely person, lovely father. I remember one day I was working on weekend and it was his birthday, and the daughter came from, I think she's lived out of the States, and she came and he was so happy. And Carolina was telling me, can you please take a picture? And I said, of course. So I took a picture, and it was her daughter, and he was like, oh, this is the wonderful day. This is a special day for me because my daughter is here. And every day when we go to the room visit, he always have a smile on his face. And he's like, do you need something? He says, no. Is my wife going to come? I said, yes, he's going to come. She's going to come later. The wife, she came every day, and she was lovely with him. They were married for many years, and he was a good man. We're gonna miss him.
May his memory be a blessing. Zichrono livracha. We're going to turn to page 6 now as we get to our final prayers, and as we do that, are there any other staff people who wanted to say anything about anyone we're remembering today? I want to thank everybody for your beautiful memorializing words, for those of you who spoke, for those of you who helped prepare for this day. I want to thank you. I want to thank Sam for co-officiating, and really all of you for being here. This is a great mitzvah to honor those who've passed. The rabbis refer to this mitzvah as one of the truest mitzvahs, one of the best things that you can do, because when we memorialize those who've passed, we know there's nothing they can do in return. It's a one-way mitzvah, and you've all done that today, so thank you very, very much, and thanks for being such good friends to those who've passed and to each other. On page 6, I'll chant the El Male. El Male Rachamim Shochein Bam Romim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina B'Malohot Kedoshim Utehorim Kezohar Haraki Hamahazirim Lenishmot Kol Ele Shehizkarnu Hayom Livracha Shehalchu L'Olamam Began Eden Tehi Menuhu Chahatam Ana Ba'al Harachamim Hastirehem Beseter Knafecha Le'olamim Utzror Bitzror Chaim Et Nishmotehem Adonai Hu Nachalatam Ve'yanuchu ve'shalom al mishkevotehem ve'nomar. Amen. Together, compassionate God who dwells on high, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the souls of all our beloved who've gone to their eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved ones find perfect peace in your tender embrace, their memory enduring as commitment in our lives to their ideals and integrity. May their souls thus be bound in the bond of love. May they rest in peace, and we say Amen. The Kaddish is found on pages 8 and 9, and so in honor and celebration of the lives of all of our beloved residents who've passed in the last few months, we say this prayer of memorial on page 8 and 9. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah be'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei B'chayechon uvyomechon uchaye decho beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam u'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved, and we say, amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.